Alright, I'm gonna say it. This game makes me nervous. Wagwan y'all, it's Dimz. I just finished playing and watching quite a bit of Byte Breakers this weekend. If you didn't know, Byte Breakers is possibly the next game from Odyssey Interactives, the creators of Omega Strikers. Now, when I say possibly, I'm saying that because this game isn't set in stone. Right now, they're just trying to gauge how people feel about the game, whether they should make it or not. So I assume a video like this would be very helpful. A little background on Odyssey Interactive. They are the creators of Omega Strikers, which is basically 3v3 air hockey, but with more bells and whistles. It's a free-to-play game that you can still check out if you want. The only issue with the game is basically that they announced that it's not going to be their main focus anymore. So they have stopped making like huge content updates for the game. There's still bug fixes here and there, but nothing huge. And the reason why that happened is basically they weren't able to get their return on investment from the game. They had a giant wave of star power which gave them a great head start and gave the game a really good spotlight in the beginning. And while their campaigns and the giant star power really did get people to know about the game and find out about it and even play and try it out, once their 15 minutes of fame was over, a lot of people did put down the game. Which is to be expected, but at the same time, Omega Strikers did ultimately still have issues with player retention. Now, the possible reasons and factors of why this all happened would be better speculated in another video by someone else. But today I'm just going to talk about Byte Breakers mainly, which is their new potential Battle Royale platform fighter, which, brings me a lot of nervousness. Now, touching on Omega Strikers once again, for me, the game was fun, it was flashy, I picked it up, tried it out, but soon enough I found out the gameplay style, it just necessarily wasn't for me. But one thing I really did love was the character designs. So when Odyssey Interactive says that they were going to shift focus and make a new game in the Omega Strikers universe, I was excited. I was just thinking, the thought of having a possible RPG where I can learn more about these characters and what kind of stories that could be made, that was really good. The thought of having a traditional fighter that you can see the characters doing sick combos just based on their designs alone, that would be awesome. I even thought of maybe a roguelite of these characters with different abilities and having to play in different little trials and runs. All that sounded awesome to me. Which brought me to the reveal of Byte Breakers, because during the reveal trailer, instead of excitement, my initial reaction was an audible, "Oh no." And that is because if you've been around the block when it comes to new battle royales or even new platform fighters, you know the landscape isn't really exactly lucrative. Though it does look like Odyssey is definitely taking a unique and much wanted spin on this platform fighter, or battle royale, well both actually, because everyone I've talked to that played Smash 3DS says that they would want to play Smash Run on a modern console, which this game does harken back to even if it's loosely. But the fact that it's going to pretty much be the main mode and not even a side mode for a brand new game, it makes me anxious. Let me start listing things about Byte Breakers. Right out the gate, let me mention that the game is fun, the game is flashy, and I still love the characters' designs. Like, the game looks good, and the game was really fun to play. I want to get that out of the way, since I did play it. It's just that everything else around the game is a really iffy, especially the genres they chose. They're playing this really risky. Let's start out by acknowledging that Battle Royales, the way it works, the lifeblood, is players. They need players, and lots of them. The way that most Battle Royales remedy this fact is by making their games free to play. If the admission price is free, you would have a lot of players, at first. Then you need to find a way to retain them. The number one way that I see that a lot of retention happens with Battle Royales is constant updates and constant changes. Look at Fortnite. Every 3 months you get a new season, and every new season, either the map changes, there's new things to do, and everything always stays, let's say, fresh. And that's not even to mention all the mid-season updates and patches that balance things or even add little things. And I'm going to be real, that is a lot to ask for an indie developer to do. Not to mention that it has to keep making profit. It has to make that return on investment. It just has to keep on generating. This is probably the number one reason why my favorite Battle Royale, or I guess former favorite Battle Royale, rest in peace Rumbleverse, failed and sunsetted. It was a really fun game and the systems were really tight and amazing, but I don't think it just kept generating money, and that's what the company wanted. Now for the platform fighter side of it, the game actually felt pretty good when it comes to platform fighting. However, I just wish that people had more to their movesets. Everyone basically just has 2 or 3 moves. Now I know this is not even an alpha, it's basically a vertical slice of the game, but that was something to look into. Give everyone fully fleshed out movesets. And then on top of that, the game felt a little floaty to me. If you can make the game feel a little bit more grounded, I think that'll be to its betterment. Because if this game feels like Melee's Adventure Mode, or even Rivals 2, I think that'll be the perfect sweet spot. Even with all that said, this is still a risky gambit. There's a lot of things that can go wrong, especially with the balancing and with the balancing of items and such. But let's just say Odyssey Interactive, let's say you go through and you want to make this game. I'm going to be constructive and I'm going to list off some things that this game will need to succeed the best way it can. Well, first and foremost, the characters and the visuals, you guys already got that on point. You even got the sound effects and the music on point. I would say the camera feels like a pinch too zoomed out, so make an option where the player can set their own field of view of how close or far they want it, within reason. Next thing, just to reiterate, give the characters a whole fleshed out move set. Make sure they have more than just 2 or 3 moves. Just give them a whole standard platform fighter move set. I already love what you did with the EX attacks. Those are really cool. Just keep doing more of that. Next, I want you to focus on having the custom game lobbies and options on launch 1.0. I'm saying that even though only 40 people can fit in the game, make sure the lobbies or private lobbies can hold 50. Make sure there's a good spectator mode where people can choose to spectate or play in each match. Make sure there's good team option mode. So if people want to do the 2v2v2 yada yada mode, they can. But what if people wanted 3 people on the team? Make them be able to choose from what team they want to be on in the custom games lobby. So you can just have players have multiple teams of varying different sizes and still be in all one game. Make sure that the custom games can start without a full 40 lobby. Maybe you only have 10 friends. Maybe you only have 5. Maybe you guys want to do a 1v1 on the giant maps. Make sure that is possible. Also make sure that you can customize what spawns in the map. Whether they want really high tier items, really low tier items, standard, or even no items at all on the giant maps. Make sure that is an option. As well as little stuff like how fast does the storm move? Like what's the time frame between it? How much damage does it do to you when you're in the storm and stuff? Just things like that. Obviously, I'm not going to ask for a map editor on the 1.0, but keep that in your notes to add later, that people can customize the map layouts and maybe specific spawns in the future. This is so that people can make their own games and their own game modes just in case they don't want to just continue playing the standard Battle Royale mode, that they can play this game mode or make up their own with their friends. But also, when it comes to platform fighters, people like variety of game modes. And I'm not telling you to make a million game modes, but what I'm going to tell you is in the beta weekend, there was a side mode where you could do 1v1s, like a traditional platform fighter. I would say don't ignore that mode and actually flesh it out. So that if people want to play Byte Breakers as a standard platform fighter, they can. They can just do their 1v1s or 2v2s and just have the standard tournaments if they wanted to. Just make it be an option. Then you might think, what does that mean for balancing? I would say keep the same balance and tuning for both modes. So if Julia is really, really good at the Battle Royale mode, but she's a mid-tier in the traditional platform fighter mode, well, that is what it is. But if Asher has an infinite in the traditional mode and you nerf her, make sure that nerf and that balance change carries over to the Battle Royale mode. Just keep it as one tuning, one universal tuning, so that it doesn't turn into hell down the line where characters just play drastically different in each mode. I feel like if Byte Breakers does do this, they can really carve out a really good niche in the platform fighting genre. So that means if you pick up Byte Breakers and you want to play traditionally, you can. But if you pick it up and play it for the Battle Royale mode, it is there for you. or if you just want to ping pong back and forth depending on what you feel, you do not have to leave the game. You can do both in the game, whether you want to play the Battle Royale mode, traditional, or just some custom games. All that should be there to keep you retained inside the game. The fact that you do not have to leave to have fun in different ways. And last but not least, monetization. If the game most likely is going to be a free-to-play game, you need to know how to monetize to make sure that you get your return on investment so that you can keep feeding it back into the game. The best way to do monetization for you this game would be to look around and find out what's best for you, or take bits and pieces from other people that are doing free-to-play platform fighters or just free-to-play games in general. Because if you want your players to grind to unlock characters, so be it. But you have to keep in mind how many characters are you going to give them at the start. And also keep in mind that if they play the traditional mode, that they're going to need characters as well. Do you just give everybody all the characters and just use cosmetics to fill the bottom line? That's fine. You need to find out what works best in both instances, because if you are, especially if you're leaning to the competitive side of these games, you need to know that, hey, competitively, if someone wants to host their own tournament, how much would they have to grind on a new setup? Or do they have to grind at all? Or, is there going to be a way for them to just type in a code and get all characters temporarily? You need to think about these things if you're going down the competitive route, and you need to think about these things if someone's only there to just play the traditional mode or the Battle Royale mode, because all these characters in these games matter because they play differently. As you can tell, I have a lot of thoughts about this game, and you can see how risky this prospect might be. But I really did enjoy my time with Byte Breakers. I think it's a good idea. Whether it's an idea that should be pursued wholeheartedly, well, we'll have to see what the logistics of it looks like from Odyssey Interactives. What kind of data did you get from the open playtest weekend? Do you think this is too ambitious? Do you think it's just right? Do you like taking this kind of risk? You need to know these things. You need to prepare accordingly because a lot can go wrong. And I want this to succeed because I like the Omega Strikers universe. I love these characters. I want to see them in more things. And this is why I am nervous, because I don't want this to be another project that didn't make its return on investment. Anyway, I think that'll do it for this video. I have been Dimz, and I appreciate you all for listening to this random person's thoughts and ideas on this game. I've seen a few games that I really liked Sunset, and I don't want this to be another one if they decide to pursue this. If they decide to go back to the drawing board, so be it. But if they decide to pursue Byte Breakers in the sense that what it already is, I would want them to do it the best way they can and with as much gusto as they can muster. Because sometimes you don't get a second chance to make a first impression. That's why on 1.0, you have to have a lot of things there and a lot of things going right. So you can just build off of that. Anyway, I hope you all have a great one.